doing 61 and a 45, and I am not gaining on him. He's also all over the road. Jesus. Hi, good evening. My name is Officer Lopez of the Gwinnett County Police Department. Reason I'm pulling you over is you're doing over 70 miles an hour in a 45. I need to step out of the vehicle.
Step out for what?
All right.
So did it make y'all feel tough?
Not the slightest. All it does is give me some paperwork.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Buzzbuster is happy to see you again. Smash that subscribe button and let's start. King Harris was reportedly taken into custody while wearing a Pikachu onesie, and that detail alone was enough to send the internet into overdrive. It also handed 50 Cent something new to comment on, especially after weeks of public tension involving the Harris family. Now the story has taken another turn, and people want to know exactly what happened, what set this incident in motion, and why 50 Cent keeps inserting himself into the conversation.
Did he express his fear for safety?
We got to be safe too. He's right there with a gun. Right?
Understood.
I don't know.
So there's absolutely no way to resolve this.
The incident unfolded in the early hours of Sunday, April 13th, 2026. It was around 1 a.m. in Gwinnett County, Georgia, near the area of Holcomb Bridge Road and Peachtree Corner Circle. According to the reported details, a Tesla Cybertruck with a camouflage wrap was moving at a high rate of speed through a zone marked for 45 miles per hour. Behind the wheel was 21-year-old King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny. Authorities say an officer noticed the vehicle speeding near Holcomb Bridge Road and Peachtree Corner Circle and began trying to catch up. The situation quickly became more serious because the officer reportedly had to push up to 80 miles per hour just to close the gap. Even after that, the Cybertruck was allegedly still moving at about 60 miles per hour in the 45 mile per hour area. Police also said the vehicle was shifting between lanes and was not using a turn signal. What may have started as a traffic stop was now looking much more serious from the officer's point of view.
He was instructed to step out of the vehicle because there was a firearm on the dashboard, and we wanted to separate him from that, and he refused. He was even told that, according to Supreme Court case law, he is required to exit a vehicle when he is requested to do so by a law enforcement officer. Pennsylvania v. Mintz, he stated that, he doesn't have to, he doesn't want to. He was informed that he was under arrest at the time. He was still continuing to refuse to exit the vehicle.
Eventually, law enforcement was able to pull the vehicle over. Once the stop began, the situation reportedly became more tense almost immediately. During the encounter, the officer said a handgun was visible on the dashboard and appeared to be within reach of the driver. At that point, officers instructed King Harris to step out of the vehicle right away. According to the report, Harris told the officer that he had not realized how fast he was driving. That statement became one of the first explanations offered in the middle of a stop that was already drawing a lot of attention because of the speed, the driving behavior, and what officers say they saw inside the truck. What makes this story even more of a headline magnet is everything happening around it. King Harris is not just any young driver in a traffic stop. He comes from one of hip-hop's most recognizable families, which means even a routine incident can become a major online topic within minutes. Add in the unusual outfit detail, the celebrity connection, and the already existing drama surrounding the family, and suddenly, this becomes exactly the kind of story social media locks onto. That is where 50 Cent enters the picture. His name keeps coming up because he has already been publicly clashing with the Harris family for weeks. So when news like this breaks, many people immediately assume he will react, joke about it, or use it as another opening in that ongoing back and forth.
So 50 Cent just reacted to King Harris getting arrested for drug possession. And yeah, this whole situation is getting messy fast. Now here's the thing. King Harris going viral over an arrest is already big, but the moment 50's name got dragged into it, everything leveled up. 50 doesn't just respond. He turns situations into full-blown internet moments.
Whether people see it as trolling, commentary, or just internet theatrics, his involvement adds another layer that keeps the story moving far beyond the original police stop. The timing matters too. A late-night traffic stop is already the kind of event that raises questions. When it involves a celebrity family member, an eye-catching vehicle, alleged speeding far above the limit, lane changes without signaling, and a handgun visible during the stop, it creates a chain of details that gets repeated everywhere almost instantly. Every piece of the story fuels the next one. On top of that, the image attached to the arrest has made the situation even more difficult to ignore. A Pikachu onesie is not the kind of detail people forget. Fair or not, moments like that become internet shorthand. And once that happens, the headlines almost write themselves. It turns a serious legal moment into something people talk about with a mix of shock, humor, and disbelief. Still, beneath all the viral reactions, the core of the incident remains straightforward. Police say they observed a camel-wrapped Tesla Cybertruck speeding in Gwinnett County near Holcomb Bridge Road and Peachtree Corner Circle. They say the driver was King Harris, age 21. An officer reportedly had to accelerate to 80 miles per hour to catch up.
King Harris was arrested for drug possession in GA while wearing a Pokemon onesie. Reps for the Gwinnett County Police Department says officers clocked King going 60 in a 45 around 1 a.m. Sunday before pulling him over.
Authorities say the vehicle continued at about 60 in a 45-mile-per-hour zone, moved between lanes, and did not signal. After the stop, officers reportedly saw a handgun on the dashboard within the driver's reach and ordered him out of the vehicle. Harris then said he did not realize how fast he had been going. Those are the details that turned a traffic stop into a major talking point. The celebrity family connection made it newsworthy, the outfit made it unforgettable, the 50 Cent angle made it even louder. And now, instead of this being just another roadside stop in Georgia, it has become the latest flashpoint in a much bigger public storyline. He said he was only heading out to grab something to eat. Even so, the situation quickly escalated when he repeatedly declined orders to step out of the truck, prompting the officer to inform him he was being arrested for obstruction. What happened next made the entire incident even more bizarre. Reports say the son of T.I. and Tiny stayed inside the vehicle during the stop while dressed in a Pikachu onesie. Not just a yellow outfit either, but a full head-to-toe Pikachu costume. That unexpected detail instantly turned an already tense encounter into something people could hardly believe.
Nigga didn't even have a valid reason why he pulled me over. Nigga, I didn't even get no ticket. He said I'm speeding with my speeding ticket.
Picture the scene for a moment. Officers were at the driver's window dealing with a visibly armed motorist who was not cooperating. And in the middle of all that, King Harris reached for his phone. Instead of calming down or focusing on what was unfolding around him, he took time to post on social media before the officers came back to the truck. The image he shared showed him still wearing the bright yellow Pikachu outfit, complete with Pikachu's face sitting over the top of his head. His caption made light of the moment, joking that Pikachu got pulled over. He also added that they were not catching this Pikachu tonight. They did. Eventually, Harris got out of the vehicle, but only after speaking with his lawyer. Once he stepped outside, officers placed him in handcuffs and took him to the Gwinnett County Jail. Unfortunately for him, the story did not stop with the arrest. In fact, that was only the beginning of a much more serious turn. After he was booked and transported to the jail, staff reportedly discovered one oxycodone pill in his possession, which is classified as a Schedule II controlled substance. That detail shifted the entire narrative. What started as a traffic stop then became a strange viral moment involving a cartoon costume and an Instagram post suddenly carried much heavier legal consequences. The social media joke may have grabbed attention first, but the discovery at the jail is what made the situation far more damaging.
He was taken into custody by the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department and held on multiple charges. According to police records, the primary charge involved the possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. Additionally, Harris faces charges of obstruction of justice, speeding, and a seatbelt violation.
There is also something striking about the contrast in this case. On one side, you have the image of a celebrity son in a playful onesie, posting captions that sound almost comedic. On the other, you have officers treating the scene as a serious stop involving non-compliance and a visible weapon. Those two realities collided in a way that made the incident feel surreal. For viewers following the story, that contrast is probably why this moment spread so fast. It had all the ingredients of a headline people would replay again and again. A famous family name, a traffic stop, a viral costume, live social media posting, and then an arrest that grew more serious after the ride to jail. Each new detail made the story more shocking than the last. What stands out most is how quickly one decision led to another. First came the refusal to exit the truck. Next came the arrest for obstruction. Then came the bizarre social media post in the middle of the encounter. Finally, after transport, Jail staff reportedly found the oxycodone pill. Step by step, the situation kept getting worse. By the end of it, the image of Pikachu trying to laugh off the moment had completely changed. What may have started as a post meant to turn the stop into a joke ended with Harris in custody at Gwinnett County Jail and facing a far more serious set of problems than an embarrassing traffic stop. That is what makes this case so memorable. It was not just unusual, it unfolded like a real-time spiral, with each development raising the stakes.
Wow. Where did this happen and why was my boy arrested in a Pokemon onesie? Honey.
1 minute, it looked like an unbelievable social media clip. The next, it had become a legal situation with consequences that were no longer easy to shrug off. Police also reported spotting a gun sitting in plain view on the dashboard, while an open THC container was found in the center console. Taken together, the situation quickly became much more serious than a simple traffic stop. According to Gwinnett County Jail records, Harris is facing several charges, including speeding, not wearing a seatbelt, and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. On top of those counts, he was also charged with possession of a Schedule II controlled substance, which is considered a felony under Georgia law. What made the moment even more surreal was the fact that King was reportedly dressed as Pikachu the entire time. That unexpected detail helped turn the arrest into a viral story almost instantly, pushing it across social media and into headlines everywhere. Still, this incident did not explode online in a vacuum. Its timing dropped straight into the middle of one of hip-hop's most talked about personal conflicts, the long-running tension between 50 Cent and the Harris family. Once that arrest footage and the booking details started circulating, people immediately connected it to the larger drama already brewing around them. To understand why 50 Cent would be paying such close attention to King Harris getting arrested, you have to go back to the start of 2026. That was the moment when years of tension between 50 Cent and T.I. finally spilled out into the open. What had been building quietly for a long time suddenly became impossible to ignore, turning into a very public feud. This was never just one argument or one random online jab. The history between them had layers. Pride played a role, social media kept adding fuel, a proposed versus battle that never happened only made the friction worse. Over time, the relationship became less about competition and more about open hostility. Eventually, 50 Cent began directing his shots not only at T.I., but also at people close to him. As the feud escalated, social media became the main stage for the back and forth, and that is where things started getting especially personal. The situation exploded after the trap pioneer publicly claimed that 50 Cent had walked away from a versus showdown he had already accepted. That single statement instantly changed the tone. T.I. clearly took it as a major sign of disrespect, and he made sure people knew exactly how he felt.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, my son detained.
Yes, sir. He's currently under arrest for obstruction.
Okay.
As well as a variety of other traffic charges.
Right.
Yeah, he was caught doing 70 and a 45. He was instructed to step out of the vehicle because there was a firearm on the dashboard, and we wanted to separate him from that, and he refused.
Instead of answering with a song, an interview, or a direct statement, 50 Cent chose the platform where he has built a reputation for stirring chaos better than almost anyone else, Instagram. Once he got active there, the tension moved to a completely different level. This was no longer just two rap heavyweights exchanging words from a distance. The posts quickly turned sharp, public, and impossible to ignore. What made it even more explosive was that the attention didn't stay focused on T.I. alone. Tiny Harris got pulled into the storm too. The posts that appeared online seemed to target her as well. And that is where things started feeling far more personal than a typical industry dispute. When family members become part of the storyline, the entire conflict takes on a different kind of weight. The timing only made the drama more intense. Not long after the online shots started flying, T.I.'s son, King Harris, stepped in and made it clear he was not willing to stay quiet. Watching his father get challenged in public was one thing. Seeing his mother become part of the conversation was something else entirely. At that point, the feud had gone beyond rap competition and into family territory. According to the online back and forth, 50 Cent had shared mocking images and AI-generated posts aimed at the Harris family, with Tiny appearing to be a major focus of the content. Those uploads sent a wave through the household and drew attention across social media almost immediately. People were no longer treating this like ordinary rap rivalry. The mood shifted because the content seemed designed to hit close to home. That is what made this moment stand out. Hip-hop has seen countless feuds, and audiences are used to bold talk, clever insults, and ego-driven clashes. Yet this exchange felt different because it appeared carefully aimed at the people closest to T.I., not just the artist himself. The message behind it seemed obvious. This was meant to provoke, embarrass, and create a reaction. Eventually, that reaction came from King Harris. At 21 years old, King had been watching one of the most well-known online agitators in hip-hop take repeated shots at his family in full public view. For someone in that position, stand silent would have looked like acceptance. He decided that was not going to happen. Rather than sit back while the family name trended for all the wrong reasons, he jumped online and spoke up. His response added an entirely new layer to the conflict. Once a son steps in to defend his parents, the audience sees the feud through a very different lens. What started as a clash between rap figures suddenly became a family-centered drama unfolding in real time across social media.
His ass going to prison. If you goddamn keep this shit up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had the conversation. I've already made my peace with it.
That shift made everything feel more unpredictable because now emotions were running higher and the stakes felt far more personal. 50 Cent has spent years mastering the art of online provocation. He knows how to post just enough to get people talking, reacting, and sharing. In this case, that strategy appeared to work exactly as intended. Every post added more fuel, every reaction brought more attention, and every new response pushed the situation further into the spotlight. Meanwhile, T.I. was left dealing with more than just criticism aimed at him. The dispute now involved his wife and his son, which changed the pressure completely. For the Harris family, this was no longer just industry noise. It had become a public test of loyalty, image, and how far each side was willing to take things. King's involvement made one point unmistakable. He was not about to watch from the sidelines while his family became the target of viral ridicule. Whether people agreed with him or not, his choice to enter the conversation showed that the online attacks had landed exactly where they were intended to. They got a response, and a strong one. By that stage, the feud had clearly moved past any simple disagreement over Verzuz. The original accusation may have lit the match, but what followed was something much bigger. Social media turned it into a spectacle, family involvement made it emotional, and 50 Cent's decision to bring Tiny Harris into the mix ensured that this story would grab attention far beyond the usual rap audience. What began as a dispute over respect had turned into a digital standoff with reputations, family pride, and public image all tangled together. Once King Harris entered the picture, the message was clear. This was no longer just between two rap stars. It had become a full-blown family matter playing out in front of everyone. King Harris came out swinging, and he did not ease up for a second. He brought up the 2000 shooting, criticized 50 Cent for going at Lil' Kim after once trying to pursue her, and pointed to the moment Kanye West outsold him and left him publicly embarrassed. Nothing was off limits. Every angle seemed fair game. King challenged 50's past, questioned his authenticity, and took direct aim at the carefully built image that has defined him for years. This was not a casual social media spat. It felt personal, intense, and deeply rooted in the idea that his family had been targeted. From King's perspective, this was not just about trading insults online. He appeared to believe he was defending his name, his bloodline, and the people closest to him. That is what made his response feel so explosive. He was not interested in restraint. He was trying to tear down the entire narrative around 50 Cent, piece by piece. Still, he did not stop there. Instead of letting the moment cool off, King pushed the conflict into even more dangerous territory. As the feud continued, he went back years and pulled up paperwork from 2009. On Instagram, he posted what appeared to be an official FBI document. That alone changed the tone immediately. Once alleged federal paperwork enters a rap-related dispute, the conversation takes on a completely different weight. According to the document King shared, 50 Cent allegedly made an anonymous tip connected to the investigation into Lowell Lottie Mac Fletcher's death. The paperwork reportedly claimed that he told authorities he feared for his own safety and said that James Jimmy Henchman Roseman had ordered the killing. Whether people believed the document, questioned it, or debated the motive behind posting it, the damage was already done. The accusation had been placed in public view. And in hip-hop culture, that kind of move lands with enormous force.
50 Cent and Akon was shooting a video for I Still Will in Bayonne, New Jersey. Inchman and his team had a drop on them, sitting in a parking lot nearby with their silencers on their machine guns, ready to ambush them.
There are certain boundaries in rap beef that everyone understands, even when nobody says them out loud. Bringing up alleged cooperation with law enforcement is widely seen as one of the most serious accusations imaginable. It is the kind of claim that can instantly shift a feud from entertainment into something far more loaded. By posting that paperwork, King Harris went straight for one of the most sensitive pressure points possible. He did not approach the line carefully. He stepped over it without hesitation and kept moving like there was no reason to turn back. That is what made the whole situation feel so shocking. This was not just a young figure throwing out reckless insults for attention. At least from the outside, it looked like a deliberate attempt to hit 50 Cent where it could hurt the most publicly. The post was designed to stir reaction, trigger debate, and send a message that King was ready to go much farther than most people expected. Even then, the escalation was not over. King reportedly took things another step by having a t-shirt made featuring an image of 50 Cent's late mother. That choice pushed the feud into an even more uncomfortable space. Family is already a sensitive area in any public dispute, and bringing in a parent who has passed away was guaranteed to draw strong reactions. It was the kind of move that instantly made people stop and ask whether this had gone too far. By that stage, the back and forth no longer looked like a simple celebrity clash. It had become something messier, harsher, and far more emotional. Every new post seemed to raise the stakes. Every response carried more shock value than the last. What started as criticism had transformed into an all-out character attack, with personal history, painful memories, and damaging allegations all being thrown into the spotlight. For many people watching from the sidelines, that was the most startling part. King Harris was not acting cautious around a veteran like 50 Cent, a figure known for surviving controversy and turning conflict into content. Instead, he appeared completely fearless. He went after a man with decades of reputation, influence, and experience in public feuds, and he did it in the loudest way possible. Whether people saw King's actions as bold, reckless, or deeply disrespectful, one thing was impossible to deny. He made sure the feud could not be ignored. He turned up the pressure, stripped away any sense of subtlety, and forced the internet to pay attention. In a space where drama often burns hot and fades fast, this felt different. It was more aggressive, more personal, and far more difficult to brush aside. And with each new move, the same question kept getting louder. How far was this really going to go? King Harris was only 8 years old when the tension first spilled into public view. At one point, he made a bold display that many people took as a direct jab at 50 Cent. The message was obvious, and it did not go unnoticed. Even T.I. later admitted that his son had crossed a line with that move. Still, T.I.'s reaction revealed something more complicated. On one hand, he appeared to want to slow things down and keep the situation from escalating any further. On the other, there were clear signs of pride. He openly spoke about how much it meant to him that both King and Damani stood up for their mother. That seemed to matter deeply to him, even if he recognized that some of the public actions had gone too far. As for 50 Cent, his response followed a pattern that fans have seen many times before. Rather than treating King's behavior like a serious challenge, he reacted with mockery, humor, and a kind of dismissive distance. Instead of entering a direct back and forth, he leaned into jokes, sarcasm, and internet-style trolling. One of the clearest examples came when 50 appeared to respond by posting a Pepe the Frog image. In the post, King was shown yelling while 50 was laughing, turning the entire exchange into a meme rather than a confrontation. That contrast summed up the feud perfectly. While King was sharing FBI paperwork and making symbolic statements with memorial-themed shirts, 50 was filling his page with cartoon images and business promotion. The difference in approach was striking. King's side projected emotion, loyalty, and intensity. Meanwhile, 50 framed the whole thing like entertainment, something to joke about while keeping his focus elsewhere. Instead of getting dragged into the drama, he kept steering attention back toward his own ventures. That included a fresh round of online shots aimed at T.I. and members of his family. Yet even those comments were folded into promotion for one of his biggest projects. At the time, 50 was publicizing the 2026 Broadway revival of August Wilson's Joe Turner's Come and Gone, a production he executive produced.
Yeah, I am doing 61 and 45 and I am not gaining on him. He's also all over the road. Jesus.
Hi, good evening. My name is Officer Lopez of the Gwinnett County Police Department. The reason I'm pulling you over is because you're doing over 70 miles an hour in a 45. You need to step out of the vehicle.
Step out for what?
Right.
So it make y'all feel tough.
Not the slightest. All it does is give me some paperwork.
Right.
All you have to do is get up.
Opening night was set for April 25th, and he used that spotlight to mix personal jabs with business momentum. In one caption, he boasted about the success of the production and paired that celebration with insults directed at T.I.'s circle. The post pushed the idea that Broadway was thriving without rappers, cosmetic drama, or the family-related controversies he was mocking. It was classic 50 Cent behavior. Turn conflict into content, turn content into attention, and turn attention into promotion. Viewed from a distance, the whole episode revealed two very different playbooks. T.I.'s family seemed to approach the moment from a place of personal loyalty and emotional defense. 50, by contrast, treated the entire situation like a stage, one more opportunity to entertain his audience while reminding everyone that he was still in control of the narrative. That may be the reason the exchange drew so much attention. It was never just about insults. It became a clash of styles, one side responding with raw emotion, the other with ridicule and strategic indifference. In that kind of battle, every post, every image, and every caption carried meaning far beyond the screen. Plenty of people took that caption as a clear jab aimed straight at King Harris and Tiny. Over time, T.I. and several of his children have thrown verbal shots at 50 Cent, mostly over claims that he avoided T.I.'s versus challenge or made disrespectful comments about Tiny. Still, 50 never really answered with a diss track. As of now, there is no sign that he intends to take that route at all.
Instead, he seemed to be playing a completely different game. Rather than stepping into a studio to trade bars, 50 Cent kept control of the situation from social media, especially through the calculated mayhem of his Instagram. At the same time, he was building an entertainment machine, overseeing hit television projects and producing Broadway work. In other words, while others were pushing for a musical response, he appeared to be winning attention and shaping the narrative without recording a single insult. That is what made the next moment feel even more explosive. When King Harris was arrested late at night while wearing a Pikachu onesie, the headlines practically wrote themselves. Authorities reportedly found a firearm on the dashboard, substances on him personally, and said he did not comply with police instructions. Given the history between the families and the ongoing tensions surrounding 50 Cent, it is not hard to guess how he may have viewed the situation. For someone who had already been sparring from a distance, this kind of incident handed him even more material without requiring him to say much at all. What makes the situation harder to ignore is that this was not being framed as some one-off mistake. The real concern comes from the larger pattern that many observers have noticed. This arrest did not happen in a vacuum. It landed as part of a growing list of troubling run-ins, each one adding more scrutiny and more questions about where things are headed. Every encounter with law enforcement has seemed to deepen that concern. Each episode becomes another entry in a story that keeps circling back to the same place. For critics, it reinforces a narrative that has been forming for years. For supporters, it raises worry rather than just gossip. Either way, the repetition is what gives this latest arrest its weight.
Georgia has already seen King Harris face legal problems before, which is why this case drew so much attention so quickly. By the time this latest incident surfaced, there was already a sense that people were watching to see whether the cycle would continue. That history makes every new accusation feel bigger because it is no longer being judged on its own. It is being measured against the record that many believe has been building over time. Then came 2024, when he was accused. What happened at that Dunwoody gas station was troubling enough by itself. According to reports, King Harris was accused of almost striking a police officer with his vehicle while pulling away from the station. For someone already carrying a well-known last name, that kind of moment instantly drew attention. Once the officer stopped the car, the situation escalated. A noticeable marijuana odor was reportedly coming from inside the vehicle, which immediately raised more concerns. What may have first seemed like a traffic-related encounter quickly turned into something much more serious. As officers looked further into the situation, they allegedly discovered that Harris had an active warrant tied to a failure to appear in court. At that point, the stop was no longer just about what happened at the gas station. It became part of a much larger legal trail that had apparently been building for some time.
This young blood was riding through Dunwoody, Georgia, probably thinking he was just living his best life, when boom, he nearly clipped a police cruiser pulling out of a gas station. The officer stopped him for failure to yield, noticed the smell of marijuana, and observed a firearm on Harris's hip.
Harris reportedly cooperated with authorities and was later booked into the DeKalb County Jail. The background to that warrant added another layer to the story. Earlier, he had also been transferred to Pickens County because of a bench warrant connected to missing a court date. That case stemmed from a 2022 traffic stop involving allegations of speeding and DUI. In other words, while still only around 17 or 18 years old, he was already facing accusations tied to reckless driving-related behavior, along with the consequences of not appearing before the court when required.
That is what makes the timeline stand out. This was not being described as one isolated mistake that appeared out of nowhere. Instead, the record suggested a pattern of legal issues stacking up one after another, with missed court appearances making the situation even more complicated. Even though those Pickens County charges were officially dropped in August 2025, the broader concern did not simply disappear with them. Legally, that chapter may have closed, but the sequence of incidents still painted a picture that many people found difficult to ignore. When someone so young is repeatedly connected to situations involving traffic violations, court issues, and police encounters, it naturally raises questions about judgment, decision-making, and the direction things are heading. That is why this case kept drawing attention beyond the paperwork itself. It wasn't only about a single stop, a single warrant, or one courtroom issue. The larger focus was the apparent pattern developing at such an early age. Even if some charges were eventually dismissed, the repeated run-ins and missed obligations continued to leave an impression that was hard to overlook. Back in trouble once again, King Harris has found himself in a familiar place. It's now April 2026, and at just 21 years old, he was seated in the rear of yet another police vehicle, this time in a different Georgia county, facing a new list of allegations. What makes this situation stand out is that the accusations now appear more serious than anything tied to his name before. At the center of the case is a felony drug possession charge, and that raises the stakes in a major way. In Georgia, possession of a controlled substance is not treated lightly, particularly when someone already has prior contact with law enforcement. Earlier run-ins may have brought attention, but this incident introduces a much more serious legal threat. A felony is now part of the conversation, and that changes everything. Several details from the arrest have fueled even more concern. Authorities reported that a firearm was visible on the dashboard during the encounter. Later, during the booking process, oxycodone was allegedly discovered on him. Investigators also say he repeatedly declined orders to step out of the vehicle, even while officers were positioned only a few feet from a loaded weapon. Those details have only intensified public scrutiny and made the situation look even more troubling. What happened after the arrest also sparked a strong reaction online. Rather than keeping a low profile, Harris reportedly shared another post that quickly drew attention. In the image, he posed without the earlier costume and made an obscene gesture toward the camera. The caption also included hostile remarks aimed at police, with explicit comments directed at the officers involved in the arrest. That post immediately became part of the controversy surrounding the case. For many people watching from the outside, the reaction wasn't just about the charges themselves. It was also about the attitude that appeared to follow them. Critics online questioned why someone facing such significant allegations would respond in a way that seemed dismissive, provocative, or unserious. To those observers, the post suggested a lack of judgment at a moment when the consequences could be extremely real. The criticism quickly spread across social media, where followers began openly questioning his maturity and decision-making. Instead of projecting caution or concern, his public response gave the impression that he was brushing off a very serious situation. That image did not sit well with many people, especially because the case involves a felony accusation and circumstances that already looked damaging on paper.
Even after bond was posted and he walked out of jail, the story did not settle down. King Harris did not step back from the spotlight or try to let the attention cool off. Instead, the fallout continued. and the conversation around his behavior only grew louder. In a case already filled with legal risk, that choice added another layer to the public backlash and kept the focus firmly on what happened next. Silence never came after the arrest. Instead, he leaned into the attention. Almost immediately, he jumped onto social media and turned the moment into a spectacle, posting a video of himself riding a go-kart while wearing the full Pikachu onesie. Rather than treating the situation with any sign of caution, he presented it like a joke, almost as if the arrest were just another viral moment to laugh off.
A Pikachu onesie drawing significant attention. He documented the traffic stop on Instagram with the selfie. According to TMZ, officers say Harris was driving 60 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone.
For a lot of people watching, that clip said everything. It took a serious legal situation and repackaged it as entertainment. The image was hard to ignore. A young man dealing with felony drug charges, allegedly found with a firearm close at hand, choosing to celebrate his release by filming himself in the very same costume and announcing that he was free. That kind of reaction did more than raise eyebrows. It reinforced the criticism already building around him. What made the whole thing even more striking was the timing. He was already involved in a very public clash with one of the most controversial attention seekers in entertainment. In that kind of feud, every post matters. Every image becomes material. Every bad decision can be used against you. By uploading that video, he didn't just create a headline. He handed over a ready-made talking point to anyone looking to mock him, question his judgment, or turn his legal trouble into a broader statement about his character.
The fallout from a moment like that doesn't stop with the legal system. Courtrooms deal with charges, evidence, and procedure. Public opinion is something else entirely. Once a story like this spreads online, it takes on a life of its own. People stop focusing only on what happened during the arrest and start paying attention to what happened after. The reaction becomes part of the story. In some cases, it becomes the main story. That is why this incident stood out. It wasn't just about the stop itself. It was about the message his behavior sent once he was back in public view. Instead of stepping carefully, he made the entire episode look casual. Instead of signaling concern, he projected confidence. To supporters, that may have looked like defiance. To critics, it looked reckless. Either way, it amplified the controversy. Yet the most revealing chapter may have come afterward, when his father learned what had happened. The situation took on another layer once Gwinnett County Police Department released footage connected to the arrest, including video of the interaction involving Atlanta rapper T.I. That material added a completely different dimension to the story, because it offered a look at how the scene unfolded beyond the headlines and social media posts. Body camera footage often does that. It strips away the dramatic captions and lets viewers see the raw sequence of events for themselves. In this case, the video provided more than just documentation of an arrest. It opened a window into the family dynamics surrounding the moment, and that made the story feel bigger than one traffic stop or one viral post. According to the released footage, T.I. arrived at the scene after his son had been stopped by police. Officers then brought him up to speed on what had happened. That exchange became one of the most closely watched elements of the entire episode, not only because of who he is, but because it framed the situation in a more personal light. Suddenly, this was no longer just a headline about charges and social media antics. It became a story about a father stepping into a difficult moment involving his son, while law enforcement explained the circumstances. That shift matters. Public scandals often stay at the level of gossip until something human pulls people in. The footage of T.I. arriving did exactly that. It connected the internet spectacle to a real-life family response. Viewers were no longer just reacting to the Pikachu onesie, the go-kart video, or the online ridicule. They were also watching a parent confront the reality of the situation in real time. Taken together, the sequence is hard to overlook. First came the arrest. Then came the unexpected attempt to turn it into a joke online. After that, the release of police footage introduced a more serious and intimate angle, showing T.I. at the scene and hearing from the arresting officer directly. Each new development added another layer, and each layer made the story harder to dismiss as just another celebrity-adjacent controversy. In the end, what this saga exposed was not simply one bad moment, but a pattern of choices that kept intensifying the spotlight. The social media post made the arrest look trivial. The existing public feud made the optics even worse. The body cam footage then grounded everything in reality,
reminding viewers that behind the memes and commentary was a genuine legal situation unfolding in front of police, family, and the public at the same time.
T.I. headed to the stop on Old Holcomb Bridge Road after learning his son had been pulled over. When he arrived, he stepped out and walked toward the officers calmly. There was no wild scene, no rush of anger. Instead, he carried himself like someone who understood exactly how quickly a routine police encounter can go in a bad direction. His posture suggested experience, caution, and a clear awareness of what was at stake. Once he got there, the explanation from law enforcement was direct. Officers said they could see a weapon, and because of that, they needed to create distance between the driver and the firearm to keep the situation under control. From their perspective, it was a basic safety step. The request was simple: separate the driver from the weapon until the stop was resolved.
King gets pulled over in Gwinnett County. Simple speeding stop, right? He's doing around 60 in a 45. Cool, that's usually just a ticket. But now things start stacking. No seatbelt. Then obstruction gets added because he's not cooperating the way officers want him to. And that's when the energy shifts.
King did not go along with that instruction. According to the officers, that decision changed everything. What could have remained a straightforward traffic matter was no longer just about speeding. The refusal to comply is what pushed the encounter into obstruction territory, turning an ordinary stop into something much more serious. What stands out most is how T.I. responded in that moment. He did not raise his voice. He did not lash out. Rather than making the exchange emotional, he asked a very specific question. He wanted to know whether his son had actually said he feared for his safety. It was a precise and deliberate point to raise. That question mattered because it seemed to go beyond the roadside conversation itself. T.I. appeared to be thinking several steps ahead, focusing not just on what was happening in front of him, but on how the incident might later be judged, maybe in court, maybe in public, maybe in both. By asking whether King had clearly expressed fear for his own well-being, he seemed to be drawing attention to the difference between what was felt, what was said, and what could ultimately be documented.
The officers answered with the line that summed up their position just as clearly. They said they had to be safe too. In a single sentence, the heart of the conflict came into focus. On one side was a father trying to protect his son and understand how the stop had escalated. On the other were officers insisting that their own safety concerns were driving the decisions being made in real time. That brief back and forth says more than a long argument ever could. Nobody needed to shout for the tension to be obvious. The disagreement was already there, sitting right beneath the surface. T.I. was looking at the moment through the lens of family, history, and consequences. The officers were viewing it through procedure, control, and risk. Both sides were reacting to the same scene, but not from the same place. What makes the exchange so compelling is how restrained it was. Many people might expect chaos in a situation like that, especially with emotions already high and a parent arriving at the scene. Yet the most revealing part was not a dramatic confrontation. It was a carefully chosen question and a short reply. Those few words exposed the larger pressure hanging over the entire stop. T.I.'s approach suggested he understood how these moments can be interpreted later. Every phrase matters. Every instruction matters. Every refusal matters. He seemed to recognize that once an encounter shifts, the story told afterward can become just as important as the stop itself. That is why his question landed with such weight. He was not simply asking what happened. He was asking what had been established, what had been stated, and what could be defended.
Meanwhile, the officers' response made their position equally plain. Their focus remained on immediate safety, especially with a visible weapon involved. From their standpoint, the priority was controlling the environment before anything else had a chance to escalate. In that framework, hesitation or resistance was not a minor issue. It was the factor that changed the tone of the entire interaction. In the end, that small exchange captured the bigger story unfolding on Old Holcomb Bridge Road. A father arrived trying to intervene carefully. Officers stood by their reasoning. A simple traffic stop became a legal problem because one key instruction was not followed. And in the middle of it all, the tension came down to a question that cut straight to the core. Was this about fear, safety, non-compliance, or all of it at once? That is what gives the moment its staying power. It was not just about a stop, a weapon, or a charge. It was about how quickly a situation can transform when different people on the scene are operating from different assumptions.
different priorities and very different fears. Just moments before the situation escalated, a 21-year-old wearing a Pikachu costume had been live streaming nearby and narrowly missed capturing the key part of the confrontation. Before T.I. even reached the scene, things had already gone sideways. King had challenged the officers during the stop, while Harris kept asking why he was being ordered out of the vehicle. In response, the officer pointed to safety concerns and established legal authority for removing someone from a car during a stop. At first, Harris would not get out. What followed was a tense back and forth, with officers making it clear that refusing to comply could lead to an obstruction charge. The standoff continued until he got his lawyer on the phone. After that conversation, he finally stepped out of the Cybertruck.
That detail matters. It was not his father who persuaded King to cooperate. It was his attorney. By the time T.I. showed up, the moment had already passed. His son was no longer just being questioned. He had already been taken into custody, processed, and formally charged. For T.I., this was never going to feel like just another viral headline or a messy social media spectacle. The weight of it is far more personal than that. This is someone who has first-hand experience with the justice system and has spent more than a year in federal prison on weapons charges. He understands exactly what it means when a young man ends up behind bars. He knows how quickly a criminal charge can alter the direction of a life. He has seen how a felony record can follow someone for years, closing doors long after the headlines fade. That is what makes this moment hit harder. From the outside, some viewers may have seen a dramatic scene built for the internet, another chaotic clip ready to be reposted, debated, and turned into content. Yet for a father who already knows the consequences, there was nothing entertaining about it. No punchline, no harmless viral moment, just the reality of watching his son move through a situation with serious stakes while millions of followers looked on. What makes it even more striking is the contrast. On one side, there is a father shaped by real consequences, someone who understands the system in the most direct way possible. On the other, there is a son appearing to treat the entire episode with a kind of public bravado, as if the attention itself softened the seriousness of what was happening. That tension sits at the center of the whole story. The cameras were rolling, social media was watching, the spectacle was already building. Yet beneath all of that noise was a far more troubling picture. A young man facing legal trouble in real time, and a father arriving too late to stop the damage from already being done. By then, the decision had been made. The arrest had happened, and the paperwork was already moving forward. Whatever T.I. wanted to say in that moment, whatever frustration or disbelief he may have felt, it could not reverse what had already taken place. And that is where the irony becomes impossible to ignore. A man who knows better than most how unforgiving the system can be was forced to watch his son step directly into that reality, while the entire thing unfolded in front of an online audience that may not have understood just how serious it really was. There's no way to ignore the timing. Only a few weeks before this happened, T.I. had sat down on the Ebro Laura Rosenberg show and opened up about something far more personal than rap drama. While discussing King's role in the ongoing issues tied to 50 Cent, he spoke honestly about how hard it had been to guide his son, discipline him, and push him toward a better direction. He made it clear that parenting in that situation had become complicated, especially when King seemed to believe he had reasons to reject everything his father had tried to teach him over the years. That context makes what happened next feel even more startling. Late at night, around 1 a.m., King was reportedly riding in a camouflage-covered Cybertruck, dressed in a Pokemon costume, with a firearm visible on the dashboard and a controlled substance allegedly found on him. On top of that, the moment was being recorded for Instagram. Taken together, the image was hard to miss and even harder to separate from everything T.I. had just said publicly about trying to keep his son from going down the wrong road. Up to this point, neither of King's parents, T.I. nor Tiny Harris, has released a public statement addressing the incident. No interview clips, no carefully worded captions, no direct response. At the time of this recording, both have remained completely silent about the latest arrest.
That silence stands out. T.I. is not known for holding back when something enters the public conversation. He has built a reputation on speaking his mind, explaining his perspective, and stepping into controversy instead of avoiding it. So when someone that outspoken suddenly says nothing, people notice. Usually, that kind of quiet suggests something deeper. Maybe this situation is too serious to reduce to a quick post. Maybe it cuts too close to home. Or maybe it's simply too messy, too painful, and too personal to unpack in front of millions of strangers online. Whatever the reason, the lack of a response has only added more attention to the story. It leaves room for speculation, and in moments like this, speculation spreads fast. Every unanswered question creates another headline. Every pause gets interpreted. Every missing comment becomes part of the conversation, which brings us to the figure sitting at the center of the larger narrative, 50 Cent, also known as Curtis Jackson. He's the name attached to the title, the person whose presence always seems to pull extra heat into any situation. Over the years, 50 Cent has developed a reputation for turning feuds, jabs, and public tension into a kind of performance. Few people in entertainment have been as skilled at taking conflict and making it impossible for the internet to look away. He understands timing. He understands spectacle. More importantly, he knows how to keep his name circulating in the middle of someone else's chaos without ever letting the spotlight drift too far from him. That has become part of his brand. What other people might treat as petty, he has elevated into a strategy. A post, a caption, a well-placed reaction, a sarcastic observation. He knows exactly how to spark conversation and keep it burning.
That's why his connection to this story matters. It isn't just about another celebrity headline. It's about the collision of family strain, public embarrassment, and the kind of internet-fueled attention that can turn one incident into a much bigger cultural moment. On one side, you have a father who had recently admitted he was struggling to reach his son. On the other, you have a son whose actions seem to publicly challenge the very lessons that father said he had been trying to teach.
His ass going to prison. If he goddamn keep this shit up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had the conversation. I've already made my peace with it.
Looming over all of it is a master of online provocation, someone who rarely lets a moment like this pass unnoticed. Seen that way, the story becomes bigger than a single arrest. It starts to look like a snapshot of a family conflict playing out under the harshest possible spotlight. Private frustration becomes public material. Personal mistakes become viral images. A parent's fears, once spoken in an interview, suddenly appear to be unfolding in real time in front of an audience eager to react. That is what makes the situation feel so heavy. It's not just the incident itself, it's the contrast between the warning and the outcome. T.I. had already signaled that things were difficult. He had already hinted that his son was pushing back against his guidance. Then, almost immediately, a scene emerged that seemed to embody those exact concerns in the most visible way possible. For now, all that remains is the silence from T.I. and Tiny, the footage and reports surrounding King, and the growing attention around how 50 Cent may fit into the story moving forward. When the loudest people stop talking, the quiet can say more than any statement ever could. In this case, that quiet has only made the entire situation feel even more serious, more layered, and far more difficult to dismiss.
Across more than 20 years in the spotlight, 50 Cent has built a reputation for never missing a chance to enjoy someone else's bad timing. When the internet lit up with news about King Harris being arrested, the moment practically wrote itself. Every detail made the story even more unbelievable. The Pikachu-style onesie, the Cybertruck, the firearm visible on the dashboard, the oxycodone pill, the Instagram posts, the refusal to step out of the vehicle, and the body cam footage showing T.I. in a tense exchange with officers. For someone like 50, it was almost too perfect. No setup was necessary, no extra joke had to be created. The headline already came packaged with its own punchline, and King Harris had handed it over in a bright yellow Pokemon outfit. What made the situation even more dramatic was the timing. This legal trouble surfaced only a short time after King had thrown himself directly into his father's ongoing conflict with 50 Cent. From a public image standpoint, it could hardly have happened at a worse moment for the Harris family. On the other side of the feud, it could not have arrived at a more convenient time for 50. Just weeks earlier, King was presenting himself in a completely different role. He had stepped forward aggressively, trying to make it clear that he was not going to stay on the sidelines while his father clashed with one of rap's most relentless antagonists. He shared alleged FBI paperwork online, he wore the shirt, he took jabs at 50 by referencing his late mother. He released diss tracks, he pushed allegations about snitching. Taken together, those moves created a very specific image.
He was trying to look like the young soldier in his family's corner, the one willing to carry the fight further than anyone else. Each post, each accusation, each song helped build that persona. He wanted the audience to see someone fearless, someone ready for pressure, someone determined to defend his family name against the Queen's rapper, no matter how ugly the exchange became. That was the version of King Harris being sold to the public only a few weeks ago. Now, the picture looks very different. Instead of appearing as the bold defender of family honor, he suddenly became the center of a story that was impossible to separate from the visuals surrounding it. At just 21 years old, he was no longer trending because of threats, diss records, or online bravado. He was in headlines because of an arrest around 1 a.m. while dressed in what looked like a children's cartoon costume. That contrast is what makes the story hit so hard. Public feuds in hip-hop already thrive on image, performance, and timing. Once someone has spent days or weeks building themselves up as untouchable, any stumble gets magnified. When that stumble also comes with details that sound almost surreal, the internet does the rest. The same person who had recently tried to project intimidation and authority was now attached to a scene that many viewers would find impossible not to mock. For 50 Cent, that kind of reversal is exactly the sort of material he has always known how to capitalize on. He has spent years turning awkward moments, bad decisions, and public embarrassment into fuel for his own brand of commentary. In this case, the situation didn't need editing. It arrived fully formed, complete with a chain of details so strange that they almost overshadowed the feud itself.
Yet, that is also why this moment matters beyond the joke. King Harris had made himself an active participant in a very public dispute. He didn't simply defend his father quietly or stand behind him in interviews. He inserted himself directly into the conflict, escalating the tension with accusations, mockery, and music. By doing that, he raised the stakes for himself. Once you present yourself as an enforcer, the public starts expecting consistency. They expect the image and the reality to match. When they do not, the fallout becomes part of the story. Instead of looking like the person controlling the narrative, King suddenly looked like someone caught in a moment he could not explain away. The internet is especially unforgiving when someone shifts from aggressor to embarrassment in such a short span of time. 1 minute, he was challenging a veteran troll who has built a career out of humiliating opponents. The next, he was at the center of a body cam-driven headline that made his earlier confidence seem much harder to take seriously. That is what turned this from just another celebrity legal issue into something more explosive. It wasn't only the arrest, it was the collision between the character King had been playing online and the image now attached to his name. Swagger can survive criticism. It can even survive controversy. What it struggles to survive is ridicule. And ridicule is exactly what this moment invited. In the span of a few weeks, the storyline flipped completely. King Harris went from trying to act like the loudest voice in his father's battle with 50 Cent to becoming an easy target in that same war. The symbolism could not have been harsher. After all the posts, all the accusations, all the chest puffing, the image left behind was not one of dominance or intimidation. It was a 21-year-old in a yellow cartoon outfit, under arrest in the middle of the night, with the internet watching every second.
Imagine the optics for a second. Pills in his pocket, a weapon close enough to grab, and social media photos uploaded during a traffic stop as if law enforcement had no chance of stopping him, only for the whole thing to end in an arrest. For someone like 50 Cent, that kind of moment is more than useful material. It is the kind of public misstep that practically lands in his lap. He responded the same way he always does when he wants a message to hit hard. Not through a formal interview, not with a press release. He took it straight to Instagram, the space he has turned into his personal arena for years. That platform has long been where he mocks rivals, shapes the narrative, and keeps the spotlight exactly where he wants it. When 50 Cent decides to go after someone online, the method is familiar and highly effective. He spots what looks ridiculous, turns the volume all the way up, and lets the internet carry the joke from there. That formula has been central to how he handles conflict in rap and celebrity culture. He pushes first, pulls relatives into the conversation when it suits the moment, and then steps back just enough to watch the reaction spread. Chaos becomes content.
Content becomes attention. Attention becomes another win in a game he clearly understands better than most people around him. What makes this situation even more striking is the contrast he gets to highlight. On one side, 50 Cent can present himself as a businessman and entertainment power player. He is tied to Broadway productions. He is overseeing a television machine that includes some of the biggest cable dramas in the business. He is promoting his liquor brand. He is posting about packed opening nights and major career milestones. The image is polished, strategic, and built around success that looks organized and intentional.
Meanwhile, the other side of the story gives him an easy target. That is what makes the comparison so sharp. He can frame himself as the one building an empire, while someone else is stumbling in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Whether fair or not, that split works incredibly well on social media, where perception moves fast and nuance usually gets left behind.
He stays in his lane. So now fast forward to this arrest and the internet instantly connects dots that may not even fully connect. Now here's the crazy part. There are rumors floating around about serious time, like years behind bars. But as of now, there's no solid confirmation backing that up. What we do know is King bonded out, so he's not sitting locked up long term.
Toward the end of February, he briefly stepped away from posting jokes about the Harris family and used Instagram to spotlight his television accomplishments instead. Even that move says a lot. It was not just self-promotion. It also reinforced the larger image he seems determined to maintain. He is not simply the guy making fun of people online. He wants the audience to see the executive, the producer, the brand builder, and the man stacking public wins while everybody else gets trapped in messy distractions. That is where the real power of his online presence comes from. The insults get attention, but the broader strategy is what makes them stick. Every jab lands harder when it comes from someone who can point to sold-out events, hit shows, and expanding business ventures. The mockery is one part of the performance. The resume is the other. Together, they create a version of 50 Cent that is difficult to ignore and even harder to challenge in the court of public opinion. So when viewers see him react to another person's bad moment, they are not just watching a celebrity post a joke. They are watching someone who has spent years turning timing, image, and public embarrassment into a weapon. He understands exactly how to make a story travel. He knows how to give the internet a punchline it cannot resist. Once that happens, he barely has to do anything else. The audience takes over, and the post starts doing its own work. That is why these moments keep following the same pattern. An incident happens. 50 Cent finds the angle that makes it look the most unbelievable. He posts at exactly the right time. People rush in, screenshots spread, blogs react, and the drama grows on its own. By the time anyone tries to push back, the narrative is already moving at full speed. From his perspective, that kind of opening is almost impossible to waste. When somebody hands the internet a story this chaotic, he knows exactly how to package it. More importantly, he knows how to place himself above it. One feed shows business deals, TV success, and high-profile entertainment projects. The other side shows turbulence, bad judgment, and headlines no one wants. That difference is the whole point. And that leads directly to the question hanging over all of this. How is this not the perfect setup for him? What's really going on here? The answer is almost too easy. In the caption, 50 Cent summed it up in a few words. He said he was on fire. That alone set the tone. On one side, you have someone moving with complete confidence, looking untouchable and fully in control of the moment. On the other, there's King Harris, the same person who publicly labeled him a snitch and made cruel comments about his late mother, now ending up booked into Gwinnett County Jail while wearing a Pikachu onesie, with an oxycodone pill reportedly slipping from his pocket. A situation like that barely needs commentary. In fact, that's what makes the contrast hit even harder. 50 Cent didn't need a long explanation, a dramatic response, or some over-the-top speech. The image alone did most of the work. When reality creates a comparison that sharp, the internet usually fills in the rest without any help.
That is exactly why this whole feud has grabbed so much attention. It isn't just about one argument, one post, or one round of insults. There's a much bigger pattern here, and anyone who has watched 50 Cent over the years can see it clearly. He has been operating in this space for more than 2 decades, and by now, this kind of public conflict is practically second nature to him. He understands how attention works. He knows how public perception shifts. Most importantly, he knows that winning these moments is often less about shouting the loudest and more about controlling the mood. his history makes that impossible to ignore. Years ago, he went at Ja Rule in a rivalry that became one of the most talked about feuds in rap. Over time, many people came to view that battle as one that permanently damaged Ja Rule's standing. Later, he targeted Rick Ross by repeatedly bringing up Ross's past as a correctional officer until that detail became inseparable from the way people discussed their dispute. It wasn't just a random jab anymore. It turned into the central talking point. The same approach kept showing up again and again. French Montana got drawn into the mix. Diddy became a target. Floyd Mayweather was pulled into the spotlight. Young Buck, too. The names keep piling up. And the reason that list matters is simple. This isn't new for 50 Cent. He's not improvising. He's following a formula he has tested repeatedly in public, and he usually seems to know exactly what he's doing. What makes his strategy so effective is that it doesn't rely on looking wounded. Quite the opposite. He tends to present these conflicts like they're amusing to him. He treats them as spectacle. He acts entertained, not shaken. That posture changes everything, because once one person appears relaxed while the other looks emotional, the audience starts reading the clash in a completely different way.
That's the lesson so many of his opponents seem to miss. Public battles are rarely decided by who feels the strongest or who believes they have the moral edge. Instead, they often turn on perception. The person who looks composed usually gains the upper hand. The one who seems impossible to provoke often ends up looking more powerful. When somebody refuses to appear bothered, even while all the chaos is swirling around them, they create the impression that they are above it all. Again and again, that's where 50 Cent has excelled. He keeps his distance emotionally, or at least he makes it look that way. He lets the moment breathe. He knows when to post, when to stay quiet, and when a single image can do more damage than a paragraph ever could. That kind of timing is not accidental. It comes from years of experience navigating public conflict in a way that turns other people's reactions into part of the story. King Harris, by contrast, stepped into this situation with the intensity of someone deeply invested. His anger was obvious. His passion was obvious too. From one angle, that makes complete sense. He's a young man reacting strongly while standing up for his parents, and those emotions are understandable. A lot of people in that position would respond in exactly the same way. When family gets involved, logic often takes a backseat to instinct. Still, in a clash like this, raw emotion can quickly become a disadvantage. The more personally someone takes the exchange, the easier it becomes for a seasoned figure on the other side to control the frame. Once frustration starts guiding the response, the balance shifts. Every outburst risks feeding the image that the other person wants the public to see.
That's where the contrast between these two becomes so striking. King Harris approached it like a real personal confrontation. 50 Cent approached it like a performance he had seen 100 times before. One side was fueled by heat. The other side relied on patience, detachment, and the understanding that in today's attention economy, the calmest person in the room often ends up with the strongest position. Viewed from that angle, this isn't just another celebrity dispute. It's a case study in how public feuds are won. One person reacts from the heart. The other reacts like a veteran who already knows how the audience will process every image, every post, and every mistake. That difference may look small at first, but once the story starts unfolding online, it can decide everything. In the end, that's what makes the whole episode so compelling. It's not only the insults, the jail booking, or the viral photos. It's the side-by-side contrast between emotion and strategy, between impulsive energy and calculated calm. For 50 Cent, that balance has been his advantage for years. For anyone going up against him, failing to recognize that has often been the first mistake. While all of this was unfolding, 50 Cent stayed in a lane that made the whole situation even more striking. Instead of trading non-stop insults, he responded with memes, Pepe the Frog images, Broadway promo posts, and long stretches of silence. That approach mattered. Rather than rushing into the chaos, he allowed King to keep going, keep posting, and keep pushing further each time. Every move King made seemed to add another layer to the story. He shared documents, wore the shirt, and released diss tracks, all while the tension kept building in public. 50 Cent didn't have to force the ending. He simply watched the spectacle play out until the moment seemed to arrive on its own.
Then came the twist that felt almost too perfect for the internet to ignore.
King Harris getting arrested while dressed in a Pikachu suit. Suddenly, what had already been a messy public feud took on an even more surreal image, one that instantly grabbed attention and spread everywhere. Reports state that Harris was later released on bond after the Sunday morning arrest. Records from the Gwinnett County Jail confirmed that he posted bail. At this point, however, no court date has been set for the felony and misdemeanor counts tied to the case. That means the legal process is still very much active, and this story is not close to being finished. For King Harris, the courtroom issues may be only beginning. He is now dealing with a felony allegation in a state known for treating controlled substance possession cases seriously. That alone raises the stakes. On top of that, his prior arrests and missed court appearances could become part of the broader picture if prosecutors decide to pursue the matter aggressively. Those details may influence how hard the case is pushed moving forward. Even before any final legal outcome, though, another battle may have already been decided. Outside the courthouse, public image has taken a major hit. In hip-hop conflicts, perception can matter just as much as anything said on a song or posted online. Reputation, optics, and timing often shape who people believe came out ahead. In this case, the momentum appears to have shifted heavily in one direction. From that angle, 50 Cent looks like the clear beneficiary. He appears to be standing comfortably in the winner's circle, and what makes it even more notable is how little effort he seemed to spend getting there. He didn't need a drawn-out campaign. He didn't need endless replies. By staying mostly above the frenzy and letting events unfold, he allowed the contrast to speak for itself.
King Harris seemed determined to position himself as the one who could challenge 50 Cent and shake that larger-than-life image. The ambition was obvious. He wanted to come across as the young lion stepping into the spotlight and proving he could humble a veteran known for dominating rap feuds. That was the storyline he appeared to be chasing. Instead, the ending so far has made the situation look very different. Rather than taking control of the narrative, he may have handed his rival exactly the kind of ending that cements a public victory. The seasoned figure in this situation did not come out looking respected. He ended up as the joke everyone noticed. That alone would be awkward enough, but the real twist is who was watching. When 50 Cent sees a moment like this, he rarely lets it fade quietly. He has a long record of turning public embarrassment into something people keep talking about. Because of that, King and the rest of the Harris family are not likely to escape the reminder anytime soon. Once 50 Cent locks onto a storyline, he tends to bring it up again and again, making sure the moment sticks and keeps circulating.